you have to be vigilant on the test day. You have to be extra cautious on every question. You cannot just assume that the first few questions are easy and I can sail through them. It's not like that. I've heard on my 745 also, I heard on the third question. So that was the kind of thing that must be the easiest question that I've heard on. Yeah, and I took less than, I believe, 2 minutes or 1.5 minutes to answer that. So it's kind of thing that, yes, you cannot be sure of it unless you are really sure, and you have to you have to use your pad and pen that is given to you. You cannot rely on your mental math, at least not on the test. When I read a passage in the e-GMAT, it really gives some kind of information. They are really relevant passages, right? So it's just a matter of interest. You have to create your interest in reading what you're reading. They'll help you in some regard, not just for the test. I believe they are helping me in the general life as well. The passages are really relatable, and they're good, means from the perspective of knowledge gaining as well. So that's the kind of attitude that you should have when you are reading a thing. It's not just the test that you're giving, but so you cannot just think of answering the questions and moving ahead. Guessing and moving on never works in the GMAT, as simple as that. You have to give thorough analysis of the question. You have to understand it, you have to comprehend it, and you have to answer it the way that it requires to be answered.
Thank you so much, Shyam, for joining us today in our interview. And congratulations on this amazing 745 score with a V90, a D86, and a Q86. How are you feeling?
Yeah, it was great to have such a score. Actually, I have been there before in the test center before. I have been there with a 655. I have been there with a 675, and in 2016, 2017, I have been there with a 680. So I know how it feels to get a score that is satisfying, and I just punched my fist in the air and then just enjoyed it. The I relished the score for a moment. I didn't get up my seat for 60 odd seconds, and then the examiner has to come and say, "Okay, sir, you have to end the exam." And then I ended the exams and just came out of the exam. And the examiner was also quite happy with that score, and he also congratulated me the same way as you did. So it was quite exciting and satisfying at the same moment, and it's the best feeling that I could have at that moment and afterwards as well. And just for the sake of saying it, GMAT is just one part of the entire journey, your MBA journey, and there's a long way to go. I understand that, and just being patient enough till I get an admit that will be either more satisfying or at least as satisfying as a 745 was.
Absolutely. And the entire team at e-GMAT, and I'm sure our audience are all rooting for you to get into that top list, right? But I know you kind of well at this point in time, but to our audience, they're meeting you for the first time. Could you tell us a little bit more about yourself before we dive into your GMAT journey?
Yeah, sure. I've been a civil engineer. I'm currently employed in the construction industry with Larsen and Toubro Limited. I graduated in 2015 from MNNIT, which is an NIT at Allahabad. We proclaim it as Motilal Nehru National Institute of Technology, and all the engineers out there must know about it. And I've graduated way back in 2015, so I have 9+ years of experience. Again, with the same company, which is Larsen and Toubro, and it's a great company to be a part of. I've been part of three projects. The first two projects were part of Clean Ganga mission, where we reduced the wastewater flowing into the river by 200 million liters per day. My current project is aimed at supplying water 24 into 7 supply to a water stressed town in Kuchaman city, which is a very small town in Rajasthan, and the current state of water supply is only 45 minutes in the span of 2 days. So I'm working on such infrastructure development projects that really have an impact on the society as well as environment. So yeah, that's all about me. I've one and non-profit organization also under my name, which we started and co-founded, and we are doing it for the social good as well. So we started it in 2022, and its name is Hamdard Aid India Foundation. We recently got into a legal tussle with that with the name, and Hamdard was claiming for that name is their copyright. So we have to change the name, and now it's named as Hamsaz Aid India Foundation. So yes, that will be all from my side.
Wonderful. So that was a nice, quick, short introduction. And I think it goes to show, you have a wealth of experience. You not just in the GMAT, but otherwise as well. And you have some pretty impressive achievements on your belt, right? So coming into the GMAT after all of this, what was really the biggest challenge for you to overcome in this journey to 745?
You see, the biggest challenge that we all, I believe, professionals face in our GMAT journey is time. We do not get time to prepare because we are working on a job. Someone is working on a 9 hour job, someone is working more than that. Especially I in the construction industry, we have no timings for the job. Our job typically starts at 8:30 or 9 a.m. in the morning, and there's no out time, right? We cannot punch out of our jobs, right? We work 24 into 7 and 365 days in a year. So that's the kind of environment that we have, and especially most others will relate to me when I say that we do not have time. We have to carve out time from our professional life to prepare for exams such as GMAT, and that's what the hardest part is, because if you have time, if you have enough time to prepare, everyone will ace the GMAT, right? But then it's really the time, not just for the preparation, but during the exam as well.
Mhm.
I'll say that during the exam also the time constraint is as much as it is before the preparation. So that is one component that everyone will relate to, that the time is constrained, and especially for the working professional. And apart from that, coming from an engineering background, we really have that lag in the verbal ability section, right? We do not get used to such kind of environment that consistently uses the literature or the verbals in the way the readings that in the way that has been posed in questions such as CAT or GMAT. So
Mhm.
that's kind of thing that we really need to. But the engineers are typically background better in quant ability and data insights ability. They are better poised in that, but in the verbal ability they do lag. So
Mhm.
that's what the thing is, and I believe that will be all.
Oh yeah, no, but I think those are some really important challenges. And you mentioned it was difficult to carve out that time and prepare for the exam. And it's difficult to do that once, but you've persevered multiple times to write the exam, 7 times. And on that seventh time, that's when we got this 745. How did you maintain that perseverance over such a rigorous prep schedule?
Yeah, correct. You see, I embraced Kaizen in 2021 when I was promoted in my organization to a managerial level post. I embraced Kaizen because my boss introduced me to Kaizen, and small improvements daily in whatever habits you have make you a better human being, right? And in everything, it will make you excel in your life, your professional journey, your personal journey, and it will make you excel. If you'll get better every day, you'll be best one day,
Mhm.
or you'll be better than what you were before, a day before.
Mhm.
Correct. So that's what I embraced Kaizen, and I changed my habits. I started waking up early. I used to weigh, I have told you this, I think I used to weigh 86 kgs in 2020, and then I right now I'm weighing 68 kgs. So I just reversed those digits, and it's 18 kgs loss, and I owe it to Kaizen. I started waking up early and adopted exercising, right? That the thing is that when you exercise, you maintain your health as well as the physical as well as the mental health, and both are interrelated. And if you have to adopt 1 hour, you have to give 1 hour of your life in those 24 hours to your physical health, because that will automatically improve your mental ability as well. So I started exercising. I took a walk. I used to walk in the morning. Getting up early was one of the things that I inherited from my parents. They used to get up early, so that those small change in habits made me more perseverant and made me focus more. They increase your focus. You do meditation, you exercise, it increases your focus. And one other benefit that you have with exercising, that when you are in a stressed environment, like when you are anxious, when you are nervous, your heartbeat increases, right? And that's exactly what happens when you exercise. Your heart rate increases and it becomes normal to you. So you are better poised during the test when your heart rate is increasing, but you are used to it. So you better manage that anxiety and nervousness, right?
Mhm. Understood. So you've essentially recreated the stress of that test environment outside that test environment. So nothing phased you when you went back into that prep zone. That's what it kind of sounds like. Which is, I think, like you said, you know, superiority is not being better than another man. It's being superior to your former self, right? And that's really what you've taken and pushed for. And those small actions have landed us with a really great big result. So I think that is absolutely fantastic. Now, before we really dive into, what were the key secrets to your verbal quantum DI score, one thing that I'd really love to understand is you were at a 675 in the mid of August and you got your 745 in mid-September. So less than a month between that sixth and seventh attempt. What changed or what did you change to really push that score by 70 points in about 30 days?
Okay, you see, when you are at 675, you already know all the basic stuff that you need to know. You just want to improve on that the test day. You have to do to the best of your ability. You have to avoid silly mistakes. You have to be vigilant. You have to be cautious, right? And you cannot err on silly mistakes. You cannot let the GMAT take over you by giving you a stressed environment. You just have to be calm and composed, and you have to take the question which is at the screen at that time. At that moment, you have to be focused on that question itself. You cannot think of the question that left your screen a few moments back, or the question that is going to come after that. So that's the kind of thought process you have. And when you are at 65, you have done all the basic fundamentals. You know all the basic fundamentals of quants or verbal reasoning. You know the basic things, but you need to perform on them, and you have to just put those things into action on the test day. And if it is your day and you are well slept, which is one of the major thing, I believe you should be sleeping just fine, or better than you sleep normally, just before the test day, and you are fit to go, and you are just on that mental space. You have to be on that mental space to perform. And be vigilant, be cautious. And if a person is scoring a 675, in my opinion, can score a 745 or a 785, or if he's just vigilant enough, or he's just cautious enough. There's a big gap on the points perspective, but if you see the gap between the percentiles, it's very minimal, right? 675 is a 95 or 96 percentile. 6 or 745 is 100 percentile, or and 725 is 99th percentile, right? So there are only 4 percentile improvement that you need to bring. And so just be vigilant, be cautious. You have all the arsenal in your pocket. You just have to go there and fire them on the right time, on the right shots, right?
Understood. 100% vigilance. That's the key to that score improvement. Makes a lot of sense. Now, one thing that you and I have previously discussed is that verbal is the section that requires, in your opinion, the most amount of study or preparation, right? Why is that so?
You see, verbal ability require, it's the scope of the verbal is very wide. It's very unlimited. You cannot just prepare for segments like, okay, I've done these things and now I'm good to go. You have to incorporate reading habit in your lifestyle. You have to read whatever, whenever you are free. You have to read a book, read newspaper, read journals, read whatever interests you, on mostly whatever does not interest you, right? Because you'll get on the GMAT the things that you are not really interested in, but you have to go through them with the same perseverance and same interest that you should go with the thing that is interesting to you, because then only you will be able to understand and comprehend it, right? So start reading stuff that are not interesting, I'll say. It will be a good start for the test. But again, I've been in the GMAT journey. I've scored V32 in the classic edition, which is roughly 77th percentile. And at that time, what I did wrong was, there was three sections at that time. There was sentence correction, critical reasoning, and reading comprehension. So I thought my sentence correction part was the weakest part. So I focused on that. And I just, the other two sections, I just means I read the questions and just I tried to save time on those questions. And because of that, I scored good on the sentence correction, but I earned on reading comprehension and critical reasoning. In the mocks and all, I did better in those two sections. But on the test day, because I was more focused on one question type, which is the sentence correction, I was erring on my strongholds, the CR and RC. So that's what the kind of thing is. You cannot aim at saving time in a question, right? You have to read it completely, give the amount of time that it requires.
Mhm.
GMAT has those kind of questions that will take time. I read one question three times in the GMAT, right, in the verbal section. So I even read a paragraph twice, which is a small paragraph. I have to read that twice to understand it completely, because you cannot just rely on one reading that you have read, that you understood it, because they trick you. They have some small components that you'll miss, and even missing a small component will make you err on the question, because they will specifically ask you on those segments which they have complicated in the context of the passage, and then the context will not be clear to you, and you will be definitely err. They will make you err. It's not that they are asking simple questions. They are giving their time as well to pose those kind of questions to you. So they want you to err, actually.
Oh yeah, no,
So that's the kind of thing is.
they're giving you all those little
You
gaps to really fall into and make a mistake out of.
correct. You will easily means. get to two answer choices. Will you file correct, and you'll just tick on one of them, and you'll think that you have 50% accuracy on that questions at least. But no, they know what you are looking at. They know the similar language. They'll use similar language from the text in the answer choices, and you will be tricked to go with that choice. But ultimately, the answer choice will be entirely different from what the language in the context of that passage was. So that's the small kind of tricks that GMAC uses to trick you, and these ploys, they are very good at it, and most of us fall to that.
No, absolutely right. And I think you've really hit the nail on the head in terms of how important it is to read like you love what you're reading on the GMAT. Like you said, you can be thoroughly uninterested with it outside and regularly, but this could be a question or three questions that really change your entire GMAT score. So you have to love what you read, because if you love it, it will love you back, essentially, right? And spending the right amount of time focusing.
Correctly. On that, I'll say that if you really go through the GMAT questions or the e-GMAT, these verbal sections, they teach you a lot. When I read a passage in the e-GMAT, it really gives some kind of information. They are really relevant passages, right? So it's just a matter of interest. You have to create your interest in reading what you're reading. They'll help you in some regard, not just for the test. I believe they are helping me in the general life as well. The passages are really relatable, and they are good, means from the perspective of knowledge gaining as well. So that's the kind of attitude that you should have when you are reading a thing. It's not just the test that you're giving, but you'll gain a lot from it apart from the test as well. So that's what the thing is, but I believe it is.
Understood. No, I agree completely, right? Because when you go to business school, you're going to look at cases and instances and concepts that maybe you don't have any interest in your post MBA journey, right? But for coming out of it as a strong business leader with the right kind of business acumen, you have to have that holistic, kind of agnostic understanding of how things work. And that can start from the GMAT side, where you are invested in what you're learning, where you are focused on taking away that maximum learning. So I think that's very, very well said. So reading with passion, spending the right kind of time, not falling into those traps. Those are three key things that I'm really hearing from the verbal side. Are there any other processes or anything that really helped you as well on the entire verbal section to get you to that V90 score?
In the verbal section, yes, I believe that just giving the due respect that every question demands is one of the key to succeed in that. And you cannot just uh, think of answering the questions and moving ahead because you're running short on time. You'll be short on time some point of time in the test, but then you will get the right questions when you'll get, because the GMAT tests you on different abilities, right? You'll be good in one ability, you'll be average in the other. So you cannot save time on the question which you are average. You have to save time on the question which you are good at, right? Because it's the GMAT is neutral regarding your abilities. You might have different abilities, but in the eye of the GMAT, it's all the same. So you have to save times on the questions which you are good at, with the which tests your ability which you are good at. So you cannot just think of answering the questions and moving ahead. Guessing and moving on never works in the GMAT. As simple as that. You have to give thorough analysis of the question. You have to understand it. You have to comprehend it, and you have to answer it the way that it requires to be answered.
Absolutely.
I
Very,
believe
very.
I did not add anything extra to that, but yes, that's
I
the
think you
three most
summarized
important things.
it quite well. I think that ends on a positive note. One last thing before we move to DI is I was just having a look at your stats on the platform, and especially for verbal, I can see, and but maybe this is a
Every morning I took 10 questions over or 11 questions over. But I was trying to replicate the scenario of the GMAT test.
Oh, yeah. And I think, you have done just a fabulous job of really maintaining those.
Yeah, apart from this, daily morning I rounded to around 13 or sometimes 23, depending on the time I have.
Mhm.
So I told you have to carve a time, and just sometime 10, sometime 12, sometime 11. So half of the CR and RC questions I did that, so that to give me a taste of the real test, right? And these are mixed, both RC and CR. So you have to be used to the environment that you'll be getting in the test day.
No, absolutely. And I think because you had that level of familiarity, a 70th percentile hard accuracy really translates to that 90th percentile ability. And I can really see that potential for success when I look at these statistics because they are so on point, especially RC, that's beyond 95th percentile ability. So you've really done a great job of portraying excellence outside the environment so that you could replicate the same thing inside that test environment. That was very, very well done. Okay. Now, as
Correct.
you
You
said,
have to be comfortable on the test day, right? You have to be comfortable. You cannot be over stressing yourself on the test day, and the only way to be comfortable on the test day is to practice a lot. And e-GMAT really gives you a lot to practice. They have a really wide scholaranium and an extensive scholaranium to be able to study it, and it will take time, but just slowly and steadily when you'll practice it enough, you will be not that stressed in the test day. You will be stressed, that's no doubt. That's a real test, the real thing. You will be stressed, but yes, you will manage that stress and anxiety and nervousness in a better way if you have practiced enough on the test day.
absolutely, very, very well said, right? So verbal has been a battle that you've more than conquered. You've come out the clear victor on top with that V90. But you've also done such an amazing job on the DI section with that D86. And, it's a 99th percentile score. It's not the kind of score that everyone achieves. How did you strategize for the DI section? What were some key thoughts in your mind, and how different was it from IR taken pre?
Yeah. So first of all, you need to accustom yourself with the DI sections because it's a new section added. It's not that new for the old GMAT test takers, but it's relatively new to the other takers. And you see, data sufficiency carries a major part of the DI part. So you'll get at least 7 to 8 questions on that typically on the test day. And I believe it's great. It's very important to excel and ace those DS data sufficiency question, and I targeted them, and actually I had a better score on DS in the my earlier 2 attempts. I scored 100 percentile on the data sufficiency in my 655 and 675 attempt, but on my 745 attempt I scored close to around 50th for percentile or 60th percentile on the data sufficiency, and I scored 100 on the other three, I believe. So that's what the kind of thing that you do. Yes, you cannot just prepare for the data sufficiency and receive a great score, but yes, it really helps you with the timing, right? You can score data sufficiency, you can answer data sufficiency questions in less than 2 minutes, and sometimes even less than a minute if you are getting the right thought at that, and if you're lucky enough to get the trick that the GMAC is getting into you, and so you'll answer it within a minute. So it's really a time saving questions that you have in the form of data sufficiency. The other questions, the MSR, they're really time consuming. So that's the one thing, you have to be accustomed to the format, to the questions that you are being posed, you will be posed in the test, and you have to ace data sufficiency, just not for the sake of time saving, but yes, it carries a major part. And apart from that, the graphs and tables, yes, you have to be really careful in those sections because they'll trick you with the graphs, they'll trick you with small ploys. They'll not start the x-axis with the zero, they'll use some other measure, and so yes, they'll trick you with that. And I believe, what did you ask? I think I've just missed it and just going ahead with whatever is coming to my mind at the moment.
I think you've covered it. What was different? What were some key strategies that you had? So focus on DS, focus on graphs, and then how was it different from the IR section? I think you've touched upon that as well. I think the only two things we haven't really touched upon so far.
Yeah, the difference about the IR section is that the IR section did not have the verbal component in that way. You will have at least non-math related questions in the current data insight section. You will at least have 5 to 6 non-math related questions that are based on the verbal reasoning. So that was not present earlier in the IR section, and they gave you more time. I believe they gave you 30 minutes to answer 8 questions, and now they are giving you 45 minutes to answer 20 questions. So I believe they know that data sufficiency questions will take a lot less time, and that's why they are giving you lesser time out. That's what I believe in. So you have to know that as well, and you have to work on that. You cannot just spend the same amount of time on every question. The MSR will definitely take time to answer because there are lengthy passages. You have to go through them, you have to understand them, you have to summarize them, and then you have to answer them. So it's a lengthy process. After I finished my MSR, I was really short on time. I just had a quick glance, but I did not focus on that. I was focusing on the question which was there on my screen at the moment, and that was the secret to score good in the data insight section. The timing will improve automatically. You will, after the MSR question, you will be short on time, that's for sure, because it is time consuming. But then you will get a few data sufficiency question, a few tables, and a few two-part analysis that will help you improve on the timings. There'll be questions that you can do in less than a 2 minute or less than a minute, so that will help you improve on the timing. Then you will cover the timing. You just don't overstress yourself with the timing. The timing part you have to improve before taking the test. You have to answer at least 20 questions in the 45 minutes time. Before taking the test, you have to take care of the timing part, not during the test. That's what my output is.
Understood. Makes a lot of sense, right? So I know that throughout all of this, one thing that also you really kept in mind was your error log, right? As you went across your GMAT preparation. What role did that error log play in your entire GMAT journey?
You see, you need, if you want to improve, you need to know where you are erring, right? You need to know your errors to improve. If you are not aware of them, how will you improve, right? It's simple in life also. If you are making a mistake, you should know your mistake, else you'll not just improve yourself. So that's what the kind of thing is. You have to log your errors to be aware of them. You do not have an elephant's memory to remember each and every of your error, right? So that's what the idea is. When you log your error, you get used to it, and you make yourself aware, and you acknowledge the repetitive errors that you're making on the test, or on the questions, right? There will be repetitive errors. There are simple errors. Yeah, you'll be missing the negative terms, and once you miss it, okay, you don't give it a major thing. But when you are doing it on a repetitive basis, then you'll acknowledge that, yo, this is the things that can make you err on the real thing, because on that time you're not thinking that sound, or you not have that space of time, or the availability of time to make think in a relaxed manner. You're working on a stressed environment in the test. So how you perform on a stressed environment really depends on how you make yourself accustomed to that kind of environment, right? So that's what the idea is behind.
Understood.
Yeah, you
Understood.
error log, right?
Got
Yeah.
it. No, that I think that's very true because if you make the same mistake when you're learning from the course, when you're doing cementing, when you're in the mocks, then you'll make the same mistake on that test day as well. But you have to identify that gap, fix it, so that you leave room to make smarter mistakes as you go down the line, really. So, very, very well put. Now, the last section, which is quant. And I know that for quant, you really have some key general strategies that all applicants should keep in mind as they go through quant prep. So, what are they?
Okay, the quant section is really which most of us from the engineering background would relate to. That's not that tough, but yes, it is tricky. It is not tough, but it is tricky. I come from an engineering background myself, and on I scored a 655 with a 70th percentile on the quants in my 655, and again a 70th percentile on 675 as well. So I know I was doing something tremendously wrong at the moment, and I never found the questions tough. When I finished, whenever I finished my quant section, I thought, okay, I maybe have done one wrong or two wrong. But when I looked at my statistics, which are really deep, I'll acknowledge GMAT for that. They're really giving these deep insights about your questions, because in the earlier format, it was not like that. The ESRs were not that detailed as well. I always ordered ESR, enhanced score reports, but they are not that detailed. But these, they tell you how you did on every single question, right? So it's great insight to draw from them. So when I look at them, I heard on six questions and five questions on my attempts of 655 and 675, that reduced my score to 70th percentile, was tremendously shocked by that, because coming from an engineering background, yeah, just you cannot accept that you are scoring a 70th percentile on an aptitude test that's testing your quant skill, right? So yes, you can make silly errors, right? You know all the basics, you have done all the things right, you have done the preparations, you know the formulas, you know the concepts, but still you can err because you are missing on some basic stuff. They will make you err on that. They know how to err you, how to make you fall into tricks and deploy you. So you have to be vigilant on the test day. You have to be extra cautious on every question. You cannot just assume that the first few questions are easy and I can sail through them. It's not like that. I erred on my 745 also. I erred on the third question.
Mm.
So that was the kind of thing that must be the easiest question that I've heard on. Yeah, and I took less than, I believe, 2 minutes or 1.5 minutes to answer that. So it's kind of thing that yes, you cannot be sure of it unless you are really sure, and you have to use your pad and pen that is given to you. You cannot rely on your mental math. At least not on the test. It will take only a couple of seconds to multiply numbers. If you're not really into it, you have to try that, because mental maths can make you a silly, may make you really do silly errors on the test, right? So that's one thing. Be extra cautious, extra vigilant about all the answers, and give the questions that are hard the extra amount of time, and go back to your basics. Don't be afraid for going back to the basics. As I already mentioned that on one questions I was given, I do not know whether it is appropriate to replicate the questions from the GMAT, but yes, I'll try to do that in a subtle way. And yes, on the one question, the basic cost and profit equation was tested, and I was given profit on the selling price, not on the cost price. What generally is given is on the cost price, and we generally 40% profit X is the cost price, 1.4 is the selling price, that 40% is the profit, right? This is how we engineers work the math, and most of us do that, right? 40% on cost is 1.4x is the selling price, and zero point 0.4 is the profit. But no, what I was given in the test is you have 20% profit on the selling price. So again, you have to go back to the equation: selling price is equal to cost price and plus profit, and that's where you have to start working and create your own new equation, which is not been taught in any of your books, right? So that's the kind of thing that you do in the test, and that's the kind of thing that you need to do in to excel it on the test day, right?
No, I think very, very key insights there, right? Because, like you said, with quant and the way it's scored, if you're not vigilant about the small things, they will have that really big impact, right? And even the smallest of mistakes can really be devastating. Where you have a little bit more wiggle room, maybe on the DI or even the verbal section to make those kind of mistakes. So I think that's extremely important for people to keep in mind as they pursue this journey as a whole. So overall, you've had a very, very inspiring journey when we really look at it. You've grown from that 680 all the way to a 710, a 655, a 675, and now 745. And you've shared a lot of very, very insightful learnings through this interview as well. Is there anything else you would like other test takers to keep in mind as they go through with their GMAT journeys?
Yeah, just one last thing that I'd like to add is that you see, I have 9 years of work experience. So people think that as you age, you will not be able to do the GMAT, do well in the GMAT, right? So that's a shout out to all the experienced professional, over experienced professionals. The sweet spot you see for an MBA is taken to be as, not for the executive MBA, but the full time MBA is taken to be as 5 to 6 years. So I'm 3 years above that. So yes, a shout out to all the experienced professionals regarding this. And yes, if you have the right commitment, the right attitude, the right preparations, and you are ready to do it, you have to test yourself to your ability. You can definitely score your dream score on the test day, and it's just a matter of preparation and performing on the test day, right? And you have to have that attitude that you can do what it, and you have what it takes to achieve that score, right? So experience is not just one factor. There are multiple factors. And yes, what helped me achieve this score is was I really, the Kaizen effect, I'll call it the Kaizen effect. The minimal improvements make you see drastic changes over a period of time, right? That's what the whole idea is to be, and I'll go ahead with the Kaizen effect in my journey as well, and hope to see you again after I get secure some great admit in some B school. I hope you'll be part of it, right? As you already promised me.
Absolutely. I'll be there right beside you. And also we'll have more learnings to share with our community afterwards as well, right? But I know I'm keeping my fingers crossed, knocking on wood, all the good stuff. And I know the entire e-GMAT team is also behind you. And after listening to the story, you have a lot more people rooting for you as well out there, people you don't even know. But thank you so much for taking the time today, Sham, to really share this amazing, amazing journey with us. It's really inspiring to see people push through the difficult part of GMAT prep and come out as the victor on the other side. And I'm so happy that we at e-GMAT could be even the smallest part in this journey to success, right? So
Yeah,
thank you.
thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
right? And to everyone out there, if you have any questions for Shyam or for us, do drop them down in the comments. And if you need any help in your GMAT prep, feel free to reach out to us. But until our next success story, all the best, happy learning, and take care. Bye bye.